You see a number of various sized ships. You see that the harbor is kind of sectioned off. There's sections where there are merchant ships that can come in, and there's another section which is a little larger, which seems to be which is almost like cut into this open cave in the side of the glacier, where you see a number of much larger vessels which bear the colors of the city navy. And as you get towards the merchant area, you do actually, because I feel like being nice, see a familiar ship with a sail bearing 3 stars and a serpent, and a prow carved into the shape of it was either the Stormwielder or the Stormwielder's serpent. I can't remember which. I'm gonna say the prow is shaped like the Stormwielder's serpent, the lightning serpent.
Yeah, that's where I remember how it was.
Splint is very excited.
And all right, and as you head down, you do see that they seem to be in the process. You see a couple of the crew members who are mostly familiar to you, a variety of humans and half-orcs and 1 or 2 halflings and whatnot, who are in the middle of like pulling crates and barrels and other provisions onto the ship, looking as they are trying to restock for setting out again.
Yeah.
Sorry, I zoned out. What? I'm sorry.
You see crew members provisioning, getting provisions onto the ship for purposes of provisions.
Cool. Splint's gonna go up and be like,
Did the music stop? Where'd it go?
It died.
What?
Yeah, it died.
It's 1.5
It died
hours.
like a while ago. It just quit. I couldn't do it.
Well then.
It couldn't do it.
Well, it's coming back. It has no choice.
Oh gosh.
All right. What are you doing, Splint?
yeah, Splint's going up and being like, hey, Haskin around?
As you start to get up, one of the people, this kind of rugged-looking human, actually kind of looks up and sees you, and you see him kind of put his hand over his eyes and just kind of squints at you, and then you see his eyes light up and says, "Hey, I know that person!" And he shouts up onto the ship. He says, "Hey, Captain, look who it is!" And up up beside the prow of the ship, you see Captain Coslow Red lean over the side of the prow, and he sees you. He says, "Well, ain't that a surprising sight for sore eyes, Splint?"
Splint waves
And he looks.
Auris also waves excitedly, thinking it's him.
He first says Splint, and then he squints his eyes again. He says, "And if I'm not mistaken, that's Auris as well. Come over here." And he doesn't use the plank or anything. He just jumps off the side of the ship, down onto the dock.
This is the ship that brought us to Sunanos,
Yep,
right?
the Renegade Star. So Captain Coslow, who I feel like you've all forgotten what he looks like, so I'll find his picture, jumps down and briskly approaches you. Do you say hi to him?
I walk towards him as well, I guess. I don't know.
We wait for his approach. We strike a pose. We do the Charlie's Angels things where we're like doing finger guns, hands together, back to back.
Why can't I find his face?
That's because he has that.
He does, shish. There's Haskins'
His
face.
face. It's God. Oh, God. Faceless. Motherfucker's faceless.
That's not true.
He lost his face in the war.
That would be horrifying.
1812.
War never changes.
I'm not gonna lie, I completely forgot this NPC existed because I was so distracted by, hey, Haskin's cool.
Here's
Wow.
the captain. He was a cool dude.
Wait, there's gonna be a Nightwing movie?
Sarah!
Sorry!
Oh my god! You have no energy
That's
for D&D, but you've got energy for Nightwing movies. I see how it is.
I'm just looking at news.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Committed, I see.
Hey there, what are you doing here?
Well, we...
Oh wait, I think I heard something from the others about you guys going on a journey.
He kind of looks at you and says, I feel like that's a better question to be asking you because, well, I know we've come up here a few other times in the course of our sailing history, but I didn't particularly pin your group as the type to go venturing this far north. If you don't mind my presumptuousness, that's a bit surprising, but I don't mind it. It's nice to see a familiar face in these parts.
Yeah, it's definitely different up here.
He looks at
very
yeah,
cool.
he looks at Splint and then he just looks down at your hooves and he has this very sympathetic look on his face. He says, I can imagine as much. I know Haskin ain't been particularly happy about it either, being sole Dragonborn on the crew. He's not too happy about it. All the scales and whatnot, they don't deal well with the cold. You actually hear one of the
I think that something's going on
behind him. You hear two crew members who are busy pulling this big barrel onto the crew just kind of laugh when he says that. And then the other guy just squats at his head. What were you saying, Auris?
We actually heard there might be something going on in the city besides the king's birthday wedding.
He kind of says, no one in the crew's been particularly able to get up into the city proper, so we haven't seen or heard much of anything. We've just been... He kind of looks a bit annoyed. He says, trying to get all our provisions in order in time to set out again. It's been a bit hard, what with the recent tensions between the natives and outsiders, but we've been getting it done. We're meant to be taking on a passenger and heading down through the upper northern coast alongside the steppes. So
I turned to Splint. Weren't Jog and
I will point out
Jog...
all of you were there for that conversation with Moira, just saying.
Oh,
you were there.
Right. Moira told us about it. That's why we came down here to find you.
He raises his hand. He says, "Oh, you friends with Lady Glencarel?"
Acquaintances. We're actually planning on joining her if we can figure out what's going on in the city, for the expedition once we figure this out.
Well,
so we might be spending some time together again.
Fancy that. I certainly. He says, "Well, would that be your entire band?"
I think so. We've unfortunately actually we've lost a member. Rygon has passed.
We got 2 new friends. Splint says this like she's kind of sad, but she's also like, hey, at least there's that, you know?
He says, that's... He especially looks at the child when he hears the child say this about Ted. He says, sorry to hear that. I didn't know the man too well, but he seemed like a nice enough guy for...
Mm-hmm.
Fact that
it's
he
okay.
could not.
I'm gonna find the person that did it and kill him.
For the fact that he could not hold his own on a boat at all, but I don't want to speak ill of the dead. That's too bad. Sorry to hear that.
Nah.
But
I will avenge him, so it'll be all right.
He hears that from the child. He's like, "Oh, okay." He kind of looks at Splint for a second, like, what? And just it's like, okay.
Splint doesn't know how to react to that. She's just kind of stares at him and she like pats Auris, kind of like, yeah, you do that.
Justice for Grygon.
Woo!
This is, I'll be sure if you're supposed to be hired by Miss Glencarel, I'd be happy to take you back on the ship. It's been certainly was a pleasure having you on last time. I'm sure no one on the crew would be offended otherwise, and we've a couple of members jumped ship in one of the ports in the steppes, so we're even sailing a bit light right now.
Have you tried out the local delicacies in the bar?
He says, I haven't personally, but a couple of the boys went and sampled some things, and I could... No, they're No, thank you. I prefer the southern fare.
Splint and I are gonna go now and try it.
Oh well, more power to you. As for your question of Haskin, he and I need to think of some random names off the top of my head. Fuck it. Haskin took Paul and Ringo, and they're getting the last of our provisions.
Those are just beetles.
But don't judge me.
Paul.
Those are just beetles that you named.
Yeah. What about it? Shut up. Leave me alone. Say they're just gathering up the last of our provisions, and then we're just waiting on the lady to get her affairs in order, and we're supposed to be setting off to Gravel Bank within the week, I think. So, it's good to see familiar faces here, and if you are indeed supposed to be if you are going to be joining us on the seafaring journey, I'll be happy to have you on board again.
It'd be fun. You know, last time, it was definitely a new experience for me. She kind of looks at her hooves again. But it was, I enjoyed it. As odd for me as it was.
He chuckles and says, well, it takes most people little getting used to be honest, especially sailing through waters such as these, which is I understand most southern ships don't particularly like it, but we've found it's we've had good fortune sailing up here, and hopefully should continue with that. It occurs to me that no one's mentioned the storm. I feel like Jog would be the one to bring that up. I don't think either Auris or Splint would have remembered that at all.
The storm thing? Because Sarah's remembering that, but Splint isn't?
Even though they're your friends? Okay. Alright. Okay, so you want to go find something in some bar?
I don't know enough about it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Jog brought it up
Go get
while
a
they were
drink.
talking to Moira, which you would have heard. He kind of told her about his visions and mentioned the star, and she was very... The fact that he mentioned seeing a ship called the Renegade Star in a storm is what led them to realize she had hired them, and that they were in the area. And you were there when they brought that up.
What does it mean?
The thing is, Splint... Actually, no. The thing is, I am torn. Because I don't want them to think we're crazy. Splint is torn because I am torn.
Well, I'm a child that just said I was going to avenge my dead friend. So,
Yeah, and
I don't
Tasso's
think you
taking
can-
that in stride pretty well. He's like, oh, okay then. Weird, but okay.
Children say the darndest things.
This child
Especially
specifically
the-
says a lot of darn things. He also shoots fireballs out of his hand.
I haven't shot a fireball yet. I don't think.
Firebolts. Well, do you think Coslow is the type of person to know the difference? He just saw you shoot fire out of his hands, and they were vaguely ball-shaped.